Hey everyone, don't forget to stay tuned till after the video if you want to find out how to support me or where to follow me on social media. And also, if you like this video and like what I do, like, comment, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. Anyways, thank you so much for choosing me, and on with the video. Why, hello, spoopy season lovers. Hello, all of my starlings. Guys, I've been holding it in. I was going to save it to the end of the video, but I can't anymore. It is time to announce ya girl has gone official. She has her designs on merch. Yay! Guys, I have been working on these for weeks, and then I asked my boss, and he was like, oh my god. And so you can own a piece of merchandise, apparel that has my artwork on it, featuring my Dracula, my Frankenstein, and my personal pride and joy, the zombie. What's that, you say? You don't want to get a shirt? Maybe you want to get something to decor your different items, like a laptop and a whoop-pow! You got the stickers of the entire, as I call them, the Faces of Fright Night, but for marketing reasons, they are the Night Frights on No System. So if you want a piece of your own Starson merchandise, go to nosysnose.com. That is nosysnose.com, and they are right there up in the featured. Come on, guys. Thank you guys so much. I just wanted to tell everybody. So I hope you guys have a great Halloween season. Let's move on with the spoopy season, guys. Hey guys, so I know I look like a hot mess right now, but there's a reason for that. I had other videos set up for the week that I'm away, but a lot of you in the comments have been saying that not only do you want to hear about my delving into the BoPo movement as someone who supported it, but also you guys have wanted a get ready with me. I think you're going to be sorely disappointed, but I figured this would be a great time for just a good old-fashioned get ready with me story time. You're going to be seeing this. I'm going to be well in Vegas by this point. But let's get started. I am going to state every product that I'm using and make sure you guys know about it. And we're going to start off with the most basic of thing for me, and that would be my skincare, because I have eczema and psoriasis, which you will see when I brush my hair. But let's get into it, okay? So a lot of you know that obviously I'm overweight. And by the way, this is going to be a long one, so make sure you get a drink and some snacks. So I made sure to do that. I have my little pumpkin spice soy latte that my husband got me. And if you guys are snackers, by the way, but you're trying to get things, not sponsored, would love it, but not sponsored, look into Unreal. So Unreal does a lot of candy, but they do it in a healthy way. There's less shit in it. Also Skinny Dipped, another really good one. Smart Sweets as well, but I wasn't feeling like gummies. It's also 6 a.m. I've been up all night. I've been just... Anyways. So, get yourself some snacks, get yourself a drink. Let's get into this. And of course, because it's spoopy season. Walmart, $3. So, go back to... Like I was saying, my entire life I've been overweight. Since I was about, I would say 8 years old. I used to be a string bean. Teeny tiny little thing. If you look at me back when I was 7 years old, I was skinny, I was thin, and I've always been very active. Even when I was a kid, didn't want to get bothered. By the way, everything I use is Burt's Bees, the sensitive one. It is actually recommended by the Eczema Society of America, I believe, if I recall correctly. Yep, the National Eczema Association. And I always use that one for day or night. So we start with that. But my grandmother started babysitting me when I was around 8. And my grandmother, for all of her faults, was a very good cook. And my mother and father, up to that point, they always split all the stuff, but they couldn't anymore. The economy was getting bad, and Clinton was in office, and they needed to work 2 jobs. So up until that point, my mother would volunteer for the local police force for, it was like a foundation for police. We call it the FOP. If anyone remembers what that is or knows what that is, I can't remember for the life of me. My mother's not alive anymore for me to ask. So the FOP, she would do telemarketing for. My mother was a fantastic telemarketer. A lot of my retail skills I got from her. And she, whatchamacallit, she would do that during the day, and my father would work at night at pretty much every warehouse. So if you're from Rhode Island, you know what Brooks is, and he would work for just, honestly, my dad took any job as long as it paid well enough. He used to work for a much larger government company, but I'm actually legally not allowed to talk about it. So my dad kind of got a lot of high government clearance back when he was in all these programs. So when I found out, when I wanted to start telling stories about him, he was like, Cassandra, you can't share that. And I'm like, why? He goes, because I will get arrested. And he's like, they will put me in military jail. I'm like, oh, never mind. So my dad and mom started having to work the same shift to afford it. And my mother would go and she would work at the casinos. So if anyone is from New England, you know about Mohegan, you know about Foxwoods, and those were the major places. And so my mom started going and working at those. And so my grandmother would babysit me and my brother. I'm going to be using the Burt's Bees whatchamacallit toner. It's very good to use fair portion of time, and I use it on the whole section. So my grandmother didn't much have a concept of, like, she knew what health food was because she shopped at Whole Foods back then, Bread and Circus. She shopped at Whole Foods like it was going out of style. She would not get steak or anything that wasn't from Whole Foods. She hated going to Stop and Shop. She hated going to Shaw's. She was beneath her. And so I grew up on Kashi before it was a thing. And God, you guys think Kashi's bad now. You have no idea. Oh, the way it used to be. Woof. Once in a while, Whole Foods had some really good stuff too, because they would use all whole ingredients, like it says. All that jazz. So what my grandmother loved to do, we used to call her the queen of, we used to call her the queen of olive oil, because she would deep fry everything in olive oil. And I'm using the Burt's Bees Calming Serum, which I'm making sure to do this now, because when I tell you, I've been in the desert before, and it is not kind on me. So my grandmother loved to fry everything. And I mean everything. She would fry everything that she could. Mushrooms, chicken, potatoes. Pretty sure if we could figure out a way for her to fry leaves and lettuce, she would have. And because she loved to do that, and because I was a really picky kid, I didn't eat a lot of stuff at all. Like, I was afraid of most foods. Sandwiches freaked me out, except for peanut butter and jelly. And that's because I knew mom and dad made it. So sandwiches that were stuck together, I was okay with. But it was only peanut butter and jelly that I was okay with. I hated any salads, anything with mayo, anything like that. Because I have a very sensitive nose and very sensitive mouth. And so anything that was super intense, like anything hyper vinegary or hyper sour, I didn't like it. I also hate super sweet. But I loved savory, and Grandma knew that. And so what she would do is she would make me. Thinking back on it now, like, it's one of my favorite flavors. Okay, it's really bad. She would take, like, this much olive oil, extra virgin, in these thick, because Grandma was married to a millionaire, so she had all these very expensive products, and she would have these, like, expensive, exotic, pans, and she would just, like, fry it all up for me. When she take these chicken legs, and guys, I've never seen it recreated since. So I know the only way to do this is heart attack on the plate. And she would take these chicken legs. She would deep fry them. And you know that caramelized red you hear about? And oh, I forgot my volume's on. Oops. You know that deep caramelized red you see? That reddish color when you make like meatballs on a pan? Maybe this is only an Italian thing. Everything. She'd take potatoes, skin them, and deep fry them like that, and the chicken. And I became obsessed. And the problem was we're Italian. This is the eye cream by Burt's Bees. Again, not sponsored, just saying. She would take these and she would just like every meal she made for me was like this, guys. Every meal. And I can tell you, that's not good. It's not good at all. I did too much, but oh well. Here I am. And so she cooked like that for me all the time. And this was a solid 1.5 years. I was staying at my grandma's all the time. Okay? So now, on top of this, guys, I went from a school that I had been attending since I was like... I went to one school because a lot of pre-K schools, at least in Rhode Island, there's a school that's pre-K, and then you go into a normal school that has kindergarten through 5th grade. And then usually you go to the middle school, which has 6th through 8th, and then the high school, which has 9th through 12th. Now, that also depended on what town you were in. And I was very popular in my first original school. I had 0 problems there. And then I just used that, by the way, guys, the Calming Day Lotion. Even sort of not day anymore. Well, no, it's going to be day soon. It's 6:08 a.m. That's close enough. I went there for kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, and I was very popular in that school, and I had 0 problems, and the teachers all loved me. I didn't learn a lick of things in there. And so I went from this environment where I didn't really have a lot of problems. No one really bullied me, and I had friends. And then during that time from the transition from one school to another, I went from this to a private school. And this private school, at that time, I had gained weight, and I went from having friends to having no friends. And when I tell you, that was already kind of hard for me, because I wasn't used to it. I went from having teachers that loved me, and they loved me, but they also didn't teach me anything. They would always compliment how cute I looked, because my mother always made sure I was dressed to the nines. And my mom hated it, because she's like, my daughter isn't learning math or anything else, which is why I went to this private school. My mother busted her ass for it, also bribed my grandmother for it. But I wasn't learning anything. And so when I went into the private school, that was what my mom's hope was. Surprise, I didn't learn to read till 3rd grade. So think about it. Halfway through 2nd grade, I transitioned from the school I was in to the private school. And that got me a fat lot of nowhere. And, you know, at that time, I didn't understand why people were being so mean about my weight, because honestly, I wasn't a super fat kid. I was chunky at best. But that was around the time that I started getting bullied for being overweight, and it was bad. And I remember this kid Sucumni. I remember him. He was the one that started it in my school, a little black kid. He would rip into me, and him and the other boys would put signs in the back of my chair, wide lobe, which I didn't even know what it meant at the time. They would just mock me for everything, and I didn't know what to do. I remember by the time 4th grade came around, I had been tortured for so long in that school. Everybody was cruel to me, and my mom and dad are realizing I'm not learning anything, I'm not understanding anything, nothing is going right. What are we supposed to do? So I was getting bullied. Even my brother's friends were bullying me. Mind you, he was overweight as well. And oops. So by that time, we're realizing it wasn't getting much better. I wasn't bullied to the point where I didn't want to go to school, but I was bullied enough that I couldn't trust anybody. And that was a theme you're going to find out throughout this. It's a trust issue. And so that's when I was like, I can't trust anyone. I can't do what I want. I'm going to be tweezing, and this is just a tweezer. I can't learn anything because the teachers don't care about me. The teacher was, she was nasty. She was a mean little bitch. She would, and you're not going to see my face. You're going to see the mirror. But let's see. Because I want to make sure you can hear me. Let me just pull this over. And that works. She was just a mean creature. She was just an angry little woman. I could still see her face. Bug eyes. Just angry. And she really didn't like me. And also I want to notate that around this time, guys, I was not talkative whatsoever. I had personality, but I hid it. Which is partly why I think people found it so easy to pick on me. Because I didn't really fight back. I just wanted to be left alone, essentially. Like, if you're not going to be nice to me, can you just leave me alone? Well, that didn't work out. And around this time was the first time my mom put me on a diet. I would say I was around 9 years old, and I was on Slim Fast for a week. But at the time, they were saying kids could be on that stuff. Don't judge my mom too harshly. My entire family hated, on my mom's side, fat people. Hated them with a passion. And my mother, if you've seen the photos, was also overweight. And she was obsessed with me not being overweight because people tortured her when she was younger. And so mom became really obsessed once she saw me starting to gain weight from the delicious chicken and fried potatoes my grandmother was giving me. Grandma was great at fried everything. Fried eggplant, fried chicken cutlets, fried cauliflower. We're Italians, we fry shit. And so my mom started to, around that time, get really worried about me gaining weight. And so also around that time, I transferred schools again. From 4th grade, in the middle of 4th grade, I transferred to a public school closer to home. So now we're on school number 3. No, 4, if you can count pre-K. Because I'm not going to say the schools because it just is weird, okay? I don't need you tracking who I am. Yeah, so now we're on school number 4. I went there for half of 4th grade and the rest of 5th grade. And most of the friends that I have today are people I met there. And it was a formulative time. In my opinion, some of my best school years were in my hometown. I wish I had just stayed there the whole time, but, you know, parents, they do what they think is right for their kids. And my mom was afraid I wasn't learning. And at the time, even though we were a super tiny town, the school that I went to in 5th grade, my mother wanted me to go to when I was in kindergarten and 1st and half of 2nd. But I was not able to because of zoning. Mind you, I was less than a mile from both schools. Tiny. Rhode Island's tiny. So I had a pretty darn good life at that school, and I wanted to go to the middle school with my friends. Well, my mother said no. She said I could not get a good education there. So no, I was going to go to another private school 3 towns over. I will tell you right now, I hate that school. I hated that school with a passion. And the feeling was mutual. The nun there, she was the leader, Sister Mary Carroll. Sister Mary Carroll was the devil incarnate. She hated children with ADHD. By the way, I have ADHD. And back then, you couldn't get diagnosed with ADHD like you can today. Like, you actually had to pass some tests that were, like, legitimate. Not just, oh, your kid's a little sugared up. ADHD! No. there was like a whole thing you had to go through. And my brother and I both have ADHD. My father has it as well. And so, you know, we're a whole family of it. And by this time, I still hadn't gotten a voice. I was still rather quiet. But that didn't stop people from bullying me. See, because that was my method. Part of my method was, if I was quiet, nobody would bully me. But that hadn't worked. The friend group I had in my school where I was in 5th grade, I had 2 separate friend groups. My best friend that passed away, Brandon, one of the reasons he became my friend was he marched up to me in the middle of the schoolyard a week after I started school and said, "You're fat. I'm fat. Let's date." We were 9. And until the day he died, we were inseparable. But that's where, again, I wasn't that overweight, but everyone made it sound like I was. I kept hearing that if you just lose 20 pounds, for most of my teen years, that 20 pounds was all I ever heard about. And my mom would put me on various things where we were like, you know, only eating whole wheat. We did not eat a lot of candy. Nothing like that. And so, again, like my mother said, I was not allowed to go to the public school. So I went to this middle school. The nun hated me. And the kids hated me too. And that's where, honestly, the worst of my bullying happened. There was this child, Tony, who, you ever get that, like, nosiness? You want to, whatchamacallit? You just want to see what your childhood bully is up to. I don't know if he died or something. I can't find him anywhere. I've used every variation of his name. For a small amount of time when MySpace still existed, I found him for a little bit, and I may have found him once upon a time on Facebook. Not no more. If you recognize me out there, Tony, you know who you are. Let me know. I just want to know where you are now. Or maybe don't let me know. Nah, I don't know. Anyways. So this kid led the charge against me. He would walk into the classroom and he would just look at me from across the classroom. And here's what I would be doing. I'd be sitting at my desk and I'd have myself hunched over and I drew all the time. This is around the time I made Angel. If you guys follow me on Instagram and you know about my artwork, you know that I just had my 1,000 follower celebration on Instagram. And the character that I used for the celebration picture, Angel, I designed her around when I was 11. She was my first character that I made and I love her. And that's what I would do. I would sit there and I'd draw my characters. I just would draw my characters and try my best to draw plain and simple. And I thought if I kept my head down and I was quiet, it'll be fine. I'll try to talk about this friend group. The friend group I had beside the Brandon friend group was this other friend group of girls. And they made fun of me all the time. They used me to be like their gopher. And one of them, I'll never forget, she was sitting next to me in class. And she went like this. She took her hands and she put them on either side of my thigh. And I remember because she had the ugliest face. And she was like, just like that. And she took her hands like this, put them on either side of my thigh to get this measurement, and then put them over her thigh. And how, you know, her thigh was so much smaller than mine. And she was just laughing. And this was one of my best friends. So that gives you an idea of my healthy relationship with people. When I was younger, I had a really great choice in people. And so that choice didn't get any better in middle school. I met this girl, Megan. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care. They're not going to come for me. I'm just not using last names. But either way, we'll call her Megan. And she was like, I decided she's my best friend. But then I also had Brandon was a best friend. Pretty much, if you're really close to me, you're my best friend, I guess. I don't know. I'm still that way today. I'm weird. So, I was super close to this girl. She was like my girl best friend. And then I rekindled with Jess in 2013. But that's later on down. So I was really friendly with her, but she would constantly complain about my weight. And then I had this group of girls. And these 3 girls, they would make songs about me alongside Tony. Just walking in a room, he'd look at me from the front of the room and he'd just start shouting, "Cassie, suck it in! I can barely get through the door, you're so fat!" Mind you, this kid was almost as fat as I am now. And he was saying this to me when I was like 11 and I was barely chunky. And I can still hear him saying it. And I literally looked up and I remember thinking, I didn't even say anything to you. Like, I remember thinking, like, what did I do? What did I do to deserve these comments? And so, this is going to be a bitch to edit. If I edit it. I don't know. We'll see. This is how I tell stories, guys. And, so, we're also going back to, I'm 35 now. It's over 20 years ago. So forgive me if I am a little nippy on some details. But anyways, so if you're wondering why I'm telling you this whole history, this is because this is what led me to it. These different people that I interacted with, that I did nothing to, still hated me. And I was barely overweight. Some of them were fatter than me, but somehow I was the fat one. And so I assumed there must be something wrong with me. And it must be because I'm overweight, because that's what they all talk about. And so, turns out apparently Tony had a crush on me, by the way. His mother talked to my mother at one point, and she's like, "Oh, it's all we ever talk about is Cassie. We hear about her all the time at home." This is not how you get a girl to like you back, guys. I'm just letting you know. So these girls would make songs about me. And one of them was Cassie Bassie, the elephant I pig. She jiggles when she walks and she's really, really big. That was just, run-of-the-mill song. Then the other one was Cassie Bassie 2x4. She did the worm on the bathroom floor, then got stuck under the bathroom door. Cassie Bassie 2x4. That one came from, there was this girl who really needed to go to the bathroom. And I've always been the kind of person where, like, if somebody's in need of help, I'm going to go and I'm going to help them. We were all in the bathroom, and some douche nozzle girl had gone in the bathroom and locked one of the doors. So there was girls in the other stalls, and this girl really needed to go. I was like, "You really need to go?" She's like, "Yeah, I really need to go." And no one was willing to help her. So I crawled under the bathroom door, and I unlocked it for her. And that was how the song was written about me. No, I didn't get stuck. So I was like, well, looks like, no matter what I do, people are going to treat me like shit. That's how I felt. And, it's what it kind of turned out to be sometimes. And so, again, I had people making fun of me. Every time a boy thought I had a crush on him, it turned into this whole hullabaloo. The girl, Megan, ended up turning the entire school against me. All these people that relied on me to be their friend, for them, never stood up for me, never helped me out, and just always made fun of me for being overweight. So when I turned 13, I was like, I'm not going to give a shit anymore. I'm going to love me no matter what. I rekindled at that time with my friend Jess. Jess, I love you. But she would often bring up my weight too. But she didn't bring it up in a mean way. She was like, "Cass, when are you going to lose weight?" Like, that was the thing. When I turned 14, I was 180 to 200 pounds. And I've posted photos before. And I'm hoping that future me in editing has put the photos up on here. If not, it's purely because I've run out of time. And I want the video up for Thursday because I'm going to be in Vegas. But anyways. So, again, I really wasn't that big. But people kept making me feel like shit over the littlest weight that I had. And so I just stopped caring after a while, guys. That was the thing. I just did not care if I gained weight. Now, what was also going on during all this time was there was a person I had been interacting with on and off that had caused my I don't want YouTube to non-consensual touching. But I didn't understand, because you don't understand what consent is at that point. And it definitely messed me up. I'll tell you that right now. And so by the time when it stopped, around when I was 12, I suddenly realized I didn't really want people putting their hands on me. I already didn't like touch as it was. But now I was like, I really don't like it. And I had a hard time deciphering good touch, bad touch. So when I started gaining more weight, it did become kind of a shield. It did. Most people don't want to touch you when you're overweight. And so I neither tried to gain weight, nor did I really care if I lost it. Because in my mind, I was like, well, I don't eat a lot, and I didn't. As a matter of fact, that would be one of the most frustrating things my mother would say. She'd be like, doctor, I don't understand it. She barely eats. How is she gaining weight? And it was the truth. I ate a lot of healthy foods. I did not eat a lot at dinner. I would not sneak food at night. And sometimes I barely ate breakfast, but I would gain weight. And so the doctor's like, well, she's just obese. Put her on a diet. So, 14 years old, I went to a weight loss program. This was called Inches Away. And this place, I was 14. I was maybe 25, 30 pounds overweight. And I was the youngest person in the program. And you had to take these disgusting... There was a whole process you had to follow. They gave you this big binder and how you had to follow it week to week. It was a whole thing. And with that, I was doing so well on it, they had to give me more food because I lost too much weight too fast. I was good at the exercise part of it. I hated the pills I had to take and everything. And it got expensive and we had to stop. So that was the last time I would say I officially had a diet. My mom tried the Atkins diet for a little bit, and that I just like that I had meat. But as for... I gotta put my earrings back on. As for whether or not that gave me any kind of healthy relationship, my mother was the non-healthy relationship, because anytime she thought I might overeat, she flipped out. She did not like the idea of me going for seconds or thirds or whatever. And so, sorry, I had to clear my throat a little bit. And so, at that time, I was working, because this was around the time I turned 15, and I was working at a restaurant. Now, again, like I said, we were pretty active as a family, guys. We're Italian, so we did all our own yard work. We didn't hire people when we couldn't afford it. And two, it was just simpler to have us do it. And my mother was the queen of decorating, so every holiday season, which there is no not holiday season in my childhood household, every holiday season was a holiday season. This is my hair serum, by the way. If you guys are trying to figure out how in between, because I only wash my hair once or twice a week. It's really not healthy to wash it a lot. The hair serum is Kenra Platinum Luxe Shine Oil. And you only need... It's got little gold dust in it. It's kind of cute. My hairdresser picked this out for me, so I told her, pick me a serum that will keep my hair healthy, and she picked this. And literally, just one pump. That's all you need. Yeah, go like this, and yeah, smells divine, I gotta say. This would be a great, just perfume or cologne. Make sure you always get your ends. And people have asked my shampoo as well. I use Lush and OGX. I don't use anything with sulfates or phosphates or parabens, because that is super damaging to your hair. But anyways, back to what I was saying. So, now you see why I don't do a lot of these, guys. I might do another one when I get back from Vegas, when I get all my Halloween costume in. We'll see. So, now my Actually, give me a pause because I'm going to change out because we're getting ready because I'm going to be going live in a few hours. So, be right back. Okay. By the way, it's a new collection for fall from No System. This is zombie cats. Teenage zombie cats. Anyways. So like I was saying, my mother... There was never a time that there wasn't some kind of activity. We weren't moving furniture. We weren't cleaning out the attic. We weren't washing walls. We were always doing that stuff. My mother was the queen of clean and the queen of decor. Everything she could do, she would do. My mother was extra. That's just the way it was. My mother was exceedingly extra. Collecting the makeup. And so, as a result of my extra mother, my family was always doing something. And I mean just always doing something. We never quite knew what we would be doing, but we knew we'd be doing something. My eyeliner is always Almay. It's the best one for me. And we're always doing some shit. And whether it be putting the couches down in the basement, cleaning out the basement, cleaning out the garage. So again, we were always fairly active. Plus we volunteered at the church. We were constantly doing volunteer work at the church, whether it be for the Halloween festival, during Christmas time, we volunteered for the presents. So again, we were active people. And so I just wasn't concerned. I always thought that it was just like, I'd always be a little overweight, but I'm also extremely muscular. I know I don't look it. Especially now that I'm quite fluffy, if you will. I don't look half as muscular as I used to. My legs used to be like fucking horse legs. They were fucking jacked. And I hit middle school. That was the first time I really started thinking about myself like, I don't care if people don't like me. Because a lot of people didn't like me still. But they didn't really bully me about my weight. My brother did. But people at school didn't. They laughed when I tried to become a cheerleader, I'll tell you that. That was where a lot of people thought that it was hilarious. If you're wondering why I'm sitting in this brown, decrepit chair and not in my blue one, it broke. If you guys have been listening to, or follow me anywhere else, by the way, my blue chair is broken around the same time my car broke. And so I'm in my old chair, which is hurting. It hurts so much. So in a couple of weeks, I have to get a whole new chair. Because I cannot work like this. But I'm trying. Anyways, back to story. So, skipping over the whole online boyfriend, no offense, Eric. Senior year, I meet my husband on a blind date. Now, guys had always been excessively cruel to me about dating. So by the time I hit high school, I was like, I'm not going to have any more crushes. I'm not. Even if I like a guy, he will never know. And I did a pretty good job with that. No guy ever knew I had a crush on them, ever. And I'm kind of proud of that. Even if I missed out on some things, I kind of prefer it. Now you know how I start my cat eyes. Even if I missed out on dating guys and girls and things like that, I don't regret it. I don't know. Maybe I do. I just didn't. When I did confess in middle school to a friend, who then did the typical kid thing of, oh my god, Richard, do you like Cassie? He hoped I would endgame myself, so he'd never have to see me again. And then the other guy said there wasn't enough drugs on the planet to make me attractive. And I was like, oh, well, thank you. So I just really got used to not wanting to be around guys. At least not in the romantic sense. And then by the time I got into high school, again, I had an older brother. So I kind of acted like one of the guys too. I was kind of really good at acting as one of the guys. My best friend was a guy who I had no idea apparently was madly in love with me for years. He told me long after I was married. Looking back now, it makes sense, but I just assumed that was my Brandon and I loved him. But anyways, so you have to realize I was raised around 2 guys. So all my girlfriends that were females, yeah, they were my friends, but we didn't do as much together as I did with the guys. So I knew how to hang out with guys, knew how to talk to guys. Not in the, oh, you're so cute way, but in the, hey, bro, what's up way. So I was a delicate fucking flower. And as a result, I needed the blind date. I needed a blind date rather than getting on my own because I wasn't going to make it. And the one other blind date I went on was this dude that was ugly. He was not good looking. But he had a great voice, and we had a lot of chemistry over the phone. So I thought, you know what, Cass? His beauty is skin deep. Don't do that. Don't judge him based on looks. You'll probably like him anyways because you guys have a lot in common. And then he told the friend that set us up, don't ever let that fat cow near me again. So, after that, I just stopped caring. Anyways, I was actually frankly shocked because my husband especially, yeah, news, you know, when I was setting up a blind date with my husband especially, the photo they sent me, he was just a little fucking looker. And I'm like, that wants to date me? Are you sure? Are you positive? Okay. I didn't believe him. But why not? So, first thing we're going to do is see it's a little dusty. I live down a dirt road, guys. I have a lot of dust in my house. I really need to get one of those little HEPA filters. Those things that just clear all the dust. So, I start dating my husband, and it's 2006, and people are still getting mad at me. His friend group hates me. The friend group he had. They despise me. Because one, I don't know if they thought he was going to get a spineless gal. I've used Blistex. This is my lifeline, Blistex. Moisturize my lips. I don't know if they thought that he would meet some meek and mild female, but this time I had stopped caring what men thought of me. One of my friends in high school, we were sitting there, and he looks at me and says, man, don't you hate it when your balls stick to your legs in the summer? And I was like, yeah, me and my balls, we hate it. He's like, oh, I forgot. You don't have a gender, you're just a Cassie. Today, that's not an insult, but back then, thanks, Andrew. But, oh, all the eye makeup I use is by I Heart Revolution. This is just a shameless plug. If you ever want to surprise me with things that I love, this is my favorite eyeshadow company. I love everything by I Heart Revolution. They're really fun. They're really cute. And they're my favorite palettes. So, and they're cheap. So they have really cute patterns and stuff on them, but they're also really cheap. So, plays into every part of me that I like. Fun and funky and bright and colorful, but also affordable. So, again, around this time, no matter what I had done, people still got really mad at me purely for being overweight. And so I had already started thinking, what's so bad about being overweight anyway? Why does everyone have such a problem with it? It's not your issue. I'm the one living in this body, and I'm perfectly healthy. And I was. I always had healthy blood. I was starting to work. Where did I work at this time? This is when I had the job at Walmart. Because I'm flash forwarding to 2011. This is right before the body positivity became a real thing. Now, Dove had already started to launching these commercials telling people, you're fine the way you are, you're beautiful the way you are, all that shit. And they weren't wrong. You are. You're fine the way you are in a lot of ways. But Now watch, I'm gonna fuck up my eyes on camera. But there's a lot more to it than that. And all I kept hearing was the part where they were saying, you're fine the way you are, you're fine the way you are. And I was like, yeah, I am fine the way I am. There's nothing wrong with how I look. And don't forget, at this time, guys, I could suck in my gut, and I almost had no gut. When I met my husband, I was only 200 pounds. So 200 pounds ago, I met him. And I then saw Tess Holiday. Going to the whole, getting past all the school stuff, the bullying, the being raised on the different diets and stuff like that, going to the inches away. Tess Holiday comes on the scene, and this woman was a little bigger than me, but she was gorgeous. And she was so in control. People found her attractive. She was feminine. And she said, F your beauty standards. Fuck what you think about how I look. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, hey, yeah. Fuck these people. Fuck everyone that makes me feel like shit just because I'm not the prettiest girl on the block. Just because I'm a little heavier. That's how they started getting me. And I was like, what does it matter if I don't fit the beauty standard? Clearly, I fit someone's standard because after I started dating, guys, let me tell you something. Suddenly, a lot of men wanted my fat ass. Very frustrating, by the way. Where were they when I was 16 and desperate? I don't know. Because I'll tell you what. Before I met my husband, I had a whole plan. I was like, nobody likes me. Nobody wants me. I'm gonna slip in here as well. From the time I was roughly 12 to 15, I thought I was trans. Very typical for people who have been non-consensually touched, who are bisexual or gay, and who are constantly bullied for being they either have a problem with their body, or there's some kind of body confidence issue. Water. And they have a lot of confusion. And during that time, I was thinking to myself, girls are attractive to me, and men don't want me. Everyone says I don't make a good girl. Maybe I'm supposed to be a guy. And I thought about that for a while. I didn't say anything to anybody, but that's how I thought. I was like, maybe this is what I'm supposed to be, and I just don't understand it. And, yeah, so that stuck in my head for a while. A long while. It's very bright in here, don't mind me. I know you guys aren't used to this much brightness in my room. But I figure since this is a real talk, I just let you see all the realness. Going back to what I was saying, though. So, I'm hearing this girl, I'm hearing her say these things, and it was like, it was really inspiring. I wanted to buy a shirt. At the time, I never shopped online, so I didn't get to. But I wanted so badly to be like her in a lot of ways. I was like, wow, I can dress up and do these things, and it's okay. It's okay to have this body seen by other people. Now, I wasn't one of those girls that, had sex. Well, I didn't have sex at all the time. Well, no, it was 2012. I got married by that time. But I wasn't the person that, wouldn't be naked in front of my husband and things like that. No. Clearly, if you're kissing me, you want part of this. So you're going to see the whole thing. And as a matter of fact, it was kind of like a joke amongst my friends. You haven't been a friend with Cassie till you've seen her naked. I had no qualms. I had no shame. And I like I said, I decided at 13 I was going to love myself if nobody else did. But I felt so connected with Tess. And then it started. You started seeing, oh, well, we need a fat Disney princess. And I became, yeah, we do need a fat Disney princess. Why don't we have a fat Disney princess? And, you know, why aren't these clothing stores including more size? Yeah, why aren't they including more sizes? And see, that's how it starts, guys. And the thing is, again, I was only in my 20s 6 years ago. And I was very healthy. I was very active, very mobile. And I was still very mobile up until 2016, 2017, before I injured myself. And so it's really easy to believe that health at every size when you're a pretty large size and you're very healthy. As a matter of fact, when you've got doctors looking at you saying, why aren't you diabetic? Thanks, doc. But at the same time, thanks, doc. Because that was a big thing. They were all very confused. How is this woman this size and not much heavier? I'm trying to match the colors in the cats. Don't mind me if you see me looking down at my boobs. Not because I just admire my boobs. But I got that a lot from doctors. We don't understand how you're not more unhealthy than you are. You're very lucky, but we don't know how long it's going to last. Da, 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 da. And the thing is, when doctors say that to you, when doctors out of one side of their mouth say, you know, oh, what you're doing is not very healthy. And I'd be like, well, what am I doing that's not very healthy? And they look at you and they go, well, what do you eat? And you tell them and they're like, wow, that's pretty healthy. I know. And they look at you and they go, well, how much soda do you drink? And I don't drink soda. And at the time, I barely drank coffee either. That's a new thing. Selling mattresses, for some reason, you start craving coffee. So the thing is, my doctors were all sitting there making these assumptions. And I'm like, but I don't do this, I don't do that, I don't do this. And if the doctor looks at you and goes, I don't know why you're overweight, but stop. Okay. See, the one thing they didn't do is they didn't educate me on the properties of the caloric intake and stuff like that. That's where they really missed their mark. They didn't educate me on when I should eat and when I shouldn't eat, and, you know. Because I assumed, because I don't eat a lot, and my husband even yells at me for it. I'm one of those people where I might not eat at all till like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I will wake up at 6 a.m. I will go through the whole day. I will run errands. I'll do everything. And I won't eat. And no doctor ever took the time to tell me how unhealthy that was. And how badly that could affect not only your digestive tract, because a lot of times I would skip food because of my IBS. So again, this all led into this foolishness that I had where I was like, I'm okay. I am perfectly fine. I'm great. I don't know why everyone's going off about this fat stuff. Sure, my mom isn't healthy, but that's just because she hurt herself. And my mom had hurt herself. She had busted her back when she was younger, and she had fibromyalgia, and things like that. But in my mind, that's just my mom. It can't be me. And so, you know, again. And so that's how it started, guys. It really did start with just me sitting there. Because I had an anomaly, I assumed all doctors must be foolish. And then I got my doctor, who is awesome. I haven't gotten to see her in a long time. Pretty much since before the pandemic, I haven't been able to see her. Which is sad, because she's amazing. But she had to switch practices, and it was a whole thing. And she very much told me, she goes, whether or not I agree with how overweight you are, she said, I know that it's detrimental to your success if I just keep pushing. She goes, the moment you tell me you want to lose weight, we'll do it. And that was when I started using Saxenda. And let me tell you something about Saxenda. Before I could have soda, and it wasn't the worst. Saxenda fucks you up, guys. I lost weight. I also ate like a cracker and a glass of milk a day. Oh, I will never forget Saxenda. That shit was rough. And I have not gone back to that kind of dieting since, because I value my life. But I will definitely say that I lost weight, but then I hit a plateau and I couldn't figure out why. And that was something that none of us could figure out. Why am I suddenly not losing any weight? So with Saxenda, you're supposed to lose like gobs of weight. Like, it was a powerful, powerful drug. And yet, for some reason, I would hit the limit of 40 pounds. And then I wouldn't go any lower. I was still barely eating anything. I was very active. By this time I had Greta. But nothing was changing. And then 2016 hit. And at this time, again, I was still kind of like major BoPo. Anytime someone made fun of fat women, you know, you always get the typical like, ugh, I would roll my eyes and be like, ugh. They just don't. I didn't believe in the word fat phobia. I hadn't ever heard the word fat phobia. But I was always like, you know, why don't you give the fat girl a chance? I was one of those girls. I'd say like, you know, you're denying yourself the chance for a good relationship because the woman's fat. I'd say that. Because that's how I saw it, because other people had treated me that way. And I was like, you know what? You could have a great relationship if you wanted to. You're choosing not to. Why? Because you can't look past her weight. Like, I was that girl that watched Hairspray and assumed that the only reason that Link liked Tracy was because he saw her on the inside. You know, he could look past the weight. None of us ever took into account that he might have been a secret chubby chaser, but, you know, that's okay. And that was horrible because at the same time, I never stopped being Republican. And this was around the time that all that trans stuff started happening, and people started saying that, you know, you couldn't have a preference, and you know, if you didn't want to date a trans person, that was bad. And I'd be like, how can you say that while still thinking you should give that fat person a chance? So, you know, Gothix asked me the other day, how deep was I in? Maybe I was pretty deep. Maybe I was pretty deep. Oh, by the way, this is Smine. I got it on Amazon. It was the only blue lip liner I could find. And then I am using, who's this? Maybelline. And it's a black lipstick. You'll see what I'm doing in a second. And so, again, this is around the time I started following Blair White. This is around the time that, you know, Trump was elected. This is 2016. Tensions are getting higher. Trans people are being barred from the bathroom. Drama, drama, drama. Everything was drama around this time. And I started noticing my favorite fat model was getting really big. But you know what? She's super active. She exercises. Because the thing is, oh, this, by the way, is also Maybelline Vivid Hot Lacquer. And everything, well, Tess Holiday exercises daily, right? That's what I'd seen. And then recently I looked and I noticed that her exercise posts were fucking old. But most people were like me. They didn't pay attention that deep. They didn't check that far. That isn't what they were worried about. Once they saw it once, they didn't need to see it again. They didn't need to see whether or not Tess actually went to the gym. They had seen it once, and that was enough. And that is the thing that a lot of folks aren't getting. It doesn't take a lot to inspire someone to believe everything the BoPo movement is saying, because all it takes is a couple of posts. And then next thing you know, you're in. You're believing what they say because the evidence is right there in front of you. But was it? See, I had seen what they showed me. I had seen what I believed. But when I realized how long it had been since I'd seen that evidence, it's kind of crazy. And after 2016, when I damaged my knee, I'd fallen really hard. And I nailed my knee. Damn, I did a good job on this. It's a little harsh for this one, but that's okay. I had hurt my knee really bad. I had slammed on it walking to my friend's house. At that time, I was still walking everywhere because I had a dog at that time. And let me see, maybe this light can get turned off. It's a little, I don't know. Is that better or worse? Let's see. Prepare your eyes. It's a little better with this. To set the mood. These lights are going to stay on anyway, but let's see. Oh, I forgot it does that. Whoops. Oh, now she's mad at me. Oh, well. You can see why I usually have the lights off in here. And so my lipstick. That's the one bad part about this lipstick. The lacquer, not the black lipstick. There we go. So I went from walking my dog in my apartments all the time and walking to my best friend 2 buildings down all the time and walking around to hobbling everywhere. And that sucked a lot. That really took a lot out of me because I just wasn't used to that. And I'm gonna have a couple of little ones. I only have a couple of them. Look how pretty the colors are on these, by the way. They're very pretty. So 35 of these is 140 calories, which is not bad. So, yeah, I found it early in the morning, but I've been up since 10 a.m. yesterday. So, anyways. Oh, we hit an hour. I may have to cut this one down. Maybe I'll make it 2 parts. So, I started getting heavier. People were still wanting me though. And even as I'm getting heavier and I'm not, my blood work isn't changing, I'm still okay. Remember I went to this physical therapist for my knee. And when I walked in, I was maybe 80 pounds less than I am right now. I don't know, give or take. I was in the 340, 350 range, so probably maybe not that less. It's probably maybe like 50 or 60 pounds less. But anyways, I don't have a scale. I gotta get one. I jump up on the table, and this man looks at me and goes, "You are remarkably sprightly for your size." And I was like, "Thanks." And again, that was a little chink in the memory armor of thinking another doctor that just, only sees my weight. And they didn't truly think that way, but that's how I was. Because I've told you guys about my OBGYN and how all the OBGYNs I went to all kept saying the same thing. Well, your weight must be a factor. Okay, but didn't you test my weight? And they'd say yes. And I'm like, and didn't those tests come back where my weight wasn't a factor? Yes, but it can't hurt. And see, these are the reasons why you stick with the BoPo when they say these things like, people don't treat you like a human. People only see the weight. I've had people stare at me. I've had children point at me and scream and laugh at me from across the room. I have had people following me randomly on the street and mocking what is on me. I've had people, like, again, my husband's friend group, they hated me because I was overweight. Even though all of them were overweight. It's a lot of things where I would get unnecessary hatred purely for existing in a fat body. Ugh. That felt bad just saying it. But, you know, just purely existing in my body, just being present around people, I did get shit on. A lot. And that's kind of how it was. I guess this entire video is that's all it takes. Is you can be someone who is very independent-minded and very strong-willed and all that jazz, and it can still happen to you. It can absolutely still happen to you. You can absolutely still be lured in by it for no other reason than the fact that Sir, I am talking here. They can get you purely by virtue of you being heard, you being seen. Even the strongest person needs somewhere to vent. And considering I was always that person for everyone else, everyone always came to me. I was always the strong person. Having that was like having that quiet backup friend that up until that point, I really didn't have. And that was, I guess what it was, is like, you had that little tiny voice that didn't say anything but, we hear you, we see you, we're listening, we've got your back, we're defending you on the public scale, because people don't normally defend me. At all. I don't really get defended a lot. And again, that's how it gets you. You start seeing that this is defending me on some level. I have this to fall back on. And that's how they get you. That is it. That is how they get you. They make you feel like you're not just some person who's got to be strong on their own, or you're not just some person that's suffering from certain things. And especially during the pandemic, when after I had around that time, this was after I had gone through near homelessness. This was after I had lost jobs. My mother passed away. My best friend passed away. That was the height of my BoPo belief. I was all about, oh yeah, look at everyone being so good during this time. And I was loving everyone was gaining weight. And I was like, welcome to the club, kids. Like, I had given zero shits. I wanted people to gain weight. Oh, be overweight. It's fine. Don't worry. I am one of those people who, and I still would though, honestly, because I got nothing to hide. I wore a two-piece out to the beach, and it was a bikini, so belly was showing. Not belly, it was like midriff belly. And stuff like that. So I guess you would say I was halfway into the BoPo. And most of you know the story after this. I started hearing inklings again on Republican, so you'd hear it throughout the Vine. But it would be, I'd hear it on like Crowder and other people reviewing stuff, and they'd be like, oh, these fat women, and I'd be like, God, they're such haters. But then it started getting louder and louder, and then we started hearing these women saying, like, you know, the fat phobia was starting, and just all these things were starting, and I was like, oh my God, this stuff has to stop. And that's how I got out of the BoPo movement. I started listening to Michelle. I started seeing Kiana. I started hearing what these people were doing. I started watching, like, you know, how bad this is all getting, and then being on the cover of health magazines and then making up healthy health facts that didn't exist. And that's how they got me out, because I'm a logic-minded person, and I started seeing that the logic wasn't adding up. And what people had said was starting to come true. You know, you're fine in your 20s, but then once you hit 30, you start feeling the difference. And that's so true. It's so true, because you may be a healthy person, but after 30, your bones are different, and the bones that were strong enough to handle it when I was in my 20s now is reminding me I'm not strong enough anymore, and I have to be more careful. I used to be able to push myself for exercising. I can't anymore. Now I have to take it slow. And that's just something that I think You can't let yourself be weak-minded and fall into prey into that stuff, guys. So, my computer's yelling at me. I have taken up too much of this time, but hopefully I didn't ramble too much. If I've got to do this all over again, I'm going to be so pissed. I'm going to look this over and probably cut out whatever's just way too much rambling. But now you guys know. I hope you enjoyed getting ready with me and you saw my products. Again, not sponsored by any of it. But thank you guys for being with me. Thank you guys for listening to me. Hopefully I don't get roasted too much for how bad I look in the beginning. But, you know. That's all I had to say on all this, guys. I will be seeing you when I get back from Vegas. Thank you. Have a great day. Hey, if you like that video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, help me out with that algorithm. I want to first off thank all of my patrons. You guys are amazing. You help fund me. You help me do this. Thank you to Lisa, John Quinn, Sherry Molosky, Emil DeVry, Edie, Anime Chan, Lady Derpy, Choco Hooligan, Amelia, Esteban, It's Brentley, Gina Cena, Rox, AJ Larry, Becoming a Better Me, Jenny Eller, Selma, Thea, Sarah F, and Pink Dolphin Milk 65. Guys, if you want to join my Patreon, it starts as low as $1 a month, goes all the way up to $20, whatever else you want to give me. And we have a lot of different good perks. You can get drawings from me, you get patron exclusive artwork, and I try to get my videos out as early as possible to my patrons, although I have been failing a bit lately. If you like a lot of the merchandise that I wear, please make sure to check out No System. That is nosysnose.com. A lot of my shirts and jewelry do come from there. And here is all of my social media. If you enjoy my artwork, if you enjoy my rants, and if you just enjoy me, you can follow me on all of these different networks. I am like fly poo, I'm everywhere. Don't forget to check out my older videos or my most recent video, which will be right here. And otherwise, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have an amazing day. And don't forget to tell the people that are important to you that you love them and to be safe. So, guys, I love you. Be safe. Have a wonderful day. Bye.